Okay, let's talk about chapter 9. Okay, so Okonkwo is beginning to kind of resolve those feelings of guilt or remorse that he has after Ikemefune's death. And it says, for the first time in 3 nights, Okonkwo slept. He woke up in the middle of the night and his mind went back to the past 3 days without making him feel uneasy. He began to wonder why he had felt uneasy at all. So infer with that what you will, kind of Okonkwo's reaction, or maybe the degree of guilt or in consequence that he feels, right? He may be trying to justify to himself, like we saw evident in chapter 8, where he kind of is reasoning with himself, like, well, why would our God put me in that situation if I wasn't meant to act this way? Kind of justifying it, his involvement or his disobeying of what Izudu had told him not to do within his own mind. So he's starting to resolve this, and this chapter really focuses on Izenma and her kind of role within the family and who she is. So we know from previous chapters that she has something special about her, right? We know that she calls her mother by her first name, which is not custom of children in Umofia or within Igbo culture. And that Chilo, the priestess of the oracle of the hills and the caves, the vessel that communicates their god's messages to everybody else in the clan, refers to Nzenma as my child. So kind of hinting that she has some sort of higher purpose or spiritual purpose in their culture. So Ekwefe, Izenma's mother, she comes to Okonkwo's hut, and it says Ekwefe was the only one who would have the audacity to bang on Okonkwo's door. So something urgent has happened, and she says Izenma is dying, came to her voice, and all of the tragedy and sorrow of her life was packed in those words. And then something that I found interesting was Okonkwo's urgency to act. He gets up, it says he sprang from his bed, pushed back the bolt on the door, and ran to Ekwefe's hut. And he finds Izenma, and she's clearly ill. He says that she has Iba, or a sort of illness, or, is afflicted with some sort of illness here. And it says that he took his machete and went to the bush to collect leaves and grasses and barks of trees that went into making medicine for Iba. So we see Okonkwo kind of showing compassion and affection and concern for his child through his actions. Not that he would, sit and offer either of them kind of words of kindness, but he chooses to act instead. And that goes along with his characterization, right? He's a man of action, as it's told us. So we get information here that, again, Ekwefe and Izenma's relationship is very special. It's kind of different than other relationships. Like, you get the example that children kind of are not supposed to have delicacies like eggs to eat. But Ekwefe, she kind of breaks the rules here, and it says it was impossible to refuse Izenma anything. And then we are reminded that Izenma refers to Ekwefe by her first name, or these different kinds of names that children do not usually refer to their parents as. And it says the relationship between them was not only that of mother and child. There was something in it like the companionship of equals. And then we learn more about Ekwefe and her life and how she has, in fact, suffered a great deal. She had borne 10 children, and 9 of them had died in infancy, usually before the age of 3. As she buried one child after another, her sorrow gave way to despair and then to grim resignation. So it's a very, very painful, very, very emotional experience that a mother has when they grow a child, they give birth to a child, and then the child dies. It's something that you don't understand until you have been through it. But let's kind of offer some perspective here, right? Like, a role of a man in this culture is, and to the degree in which someone is considered a man, has many factors, right? Your titles, your achievements, your reputation, your ability to provide for your family, the number of wives that you have, the number of children that you have, and the strength of your sons, right? So then when we think of that from a woman's perspective, the status of the man that you marry, the degree in which he is perceived as a man, and then likely your worth or your value as a woman, what you have to offer is children. Women have the ability to bear children. And so this not only is devastating to Akwefe on a human level, but within their culture, probably makes her feel some degree of inadequacy. Like, she's plagued with the inability to have children that sustain life, and that makes her feel, she makes her suffer. It says, the birth of her children, which should be a woman's crowning glory, became for Akwefe a mere physical agony devoid of promise. So her fertility and this journey that she goes on is something that definitely impacts the way that she perceives herself as a woman. So in trying to solve this, they go to visit a medicine man, and they kind of learn that Akwefe is plagued with an Ogbanji, one of those wicked children who, when they died, entered their mother's wombs to be born again. So she's kind of plagued with this cycle of becoming pregnant, but then the child dies. There's a spiritual component to this tragedy that she continues to suffer. So it describes that and what she should do and how she reacts to this continuing to happen. And then it says, by the time her 9th child had died, Akwefe had become a very bitter woman. Her husband's first wife already had 3 sons, all strong and healthy, which probably continues to make her feel bitterness and inadequacy. And it says that in reaction to Okonkwo's first wife having these sons, Akwefe had nothing but good wishes for her, but she had grown so bitter about her own chi that she could not rejoice with others over their good fortune. And it says that when she arrived to the celebration of the 3rd child, that Okonkwo's first wife took Akwefe's sadness for malevolence, as husband wives were wont to. How could she know that Akwefe's bitterness did not flow outwards towards others, but inwards to her own soul? That she did not blame others for their good fortune, but her own evil chi who denied her any. So some conflict between the women, but Akwefe is suffering, so it's logical, it's reasonable. Like, one could understand or empathize if they knew exactly the experience that she had in this situation. And so then talking about when Ezenma was born, Akwefe's determination to keep her alive, it says she determined to nurse her child to health, and she put all her being into it. We learn that Ezenma was continuously plagued with these mysterious illnesses, and in these pages that follow, I was kind of confused as a reader, but in summary, Ezenma is a product of this evil spirit, right? This Ogbanji. And in order to break the cycle, right, what she's, they say that she's an evil spirit or an Ogbanji, which is the evil spirit that dies and is reborn again, which is why she's continuously plagued with these illnesses. And in order to break this cycle, they have to find her Aiwana, which is this little rock that must be destroyed. And it's secret, it's buried, it's hidden, and that rock must be destroyed to break the cycle. So the following pages kind of detail Azenma's origin and the struggle from the medicine man to find this rock in order to stop her from being sick. And so we keep, in this process and in the description of Azenma's origin, this I kind of noted, we keep seeing these instances where Okonkwo thinks that he knows better. He's frustrated by the process in going to try to find Okonkwo's rock. And the medicine man is kind of perceived as this elder, like a spiritual being that, the things that the spiritual figures in the book, the things that they say need to be done are not to be disobeyed or not to be defied. And there's kind of another example of that on page 82. But they go through the process. They think they find Azenma's rock. They think they destroy it. And so after that, it says, all the women shouted with joy because Ekwefe's troubles were ended at last. They've destroyed the rock, which means that the cycle of the Ogbanji has been broken. So Azenma should live a happy and healthy life. But fast forward a year, it says all of this had happened more than a year ago. Azenma had not been ill since. And then suddenly she had begun to shiver in the night. So it's understandable why Ekwefe would feel these feelings of desperation, of incredible fear, that I thought that we had broken this cycle by destroying the rock. Why is she sick? So it's kind of determined or left a little bit unresolved. Like, why is she sick? Does she just have a normal illness that children are plagued with? Or could it be something more? So really, this chapter is important because it emphasizes the important role that children play in women's lives in this culture. It shows us traditions and beliefs that surround the ideas of childbirth and death, and the meaning and the reasoning that's attached to a child like this in terms of their belief system, but also reinforcing the fact that Azenma might hold some sort of spiritual power or purpose within the clan and within Igbo culture.